This is the Couples Corner. The Couples Corner. This is the Couples Corner. Team Evans. This is the Couples Corner. The Couples Corner. This is the Couples Corner. Team Evans. This is the Couples Corner. The Couples Corner. This is the Couples Corner. Team Evans. This is the Couples Corner. The Couples Corner. This is the Couples Corner. Team Evans. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How's everybody feeling and how y'all doing? All that good stuff. Welcome to the Couples Corner. This is another family edition in the Couples Corner. And we are Team Bevins. I'm Marcus. This is my wife, Cherie. And these are 3 of our 6 children. And so we are going to have a great discussion tonight. It's a sensitive topic, but we're going to address it because it's something that people, experience. And sometimes when you're able to help them, because you can share your experiences, then it kind of positions things in people, for things to be better. So that's what our goal is tonight. And our topic, as you can see, well, no, not as you can see, but it's our family edition, and our topic, once we finish praying, it's going to be caring for ill family members and death. So we're going to address that from a family perspective, and also some things that you can prayerfully do that will help anyone who is either in it or prepare you for when you go through it. So we're going to pray, and then we'll get right into our topic. Father, we thank you for another opportunity to gather together in the Couples Corner. We thank you, Lord, for this family edition. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to be able to share with our life experiences with those who may be able to benefit from what we've been through and how we've conquered and how we were able to overcome the things that we did, the lessons we learned, and the tools we used while we were in it. So we thank you for every person, every family, every couple that is here tonight, and the things that they will be able to gain and benefit as a result of the Couples Corner tonight. So we give you glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So again, our topic tonight is caring for ill family members. No, caring for themselves.
Okay.
Caring for ill family members and death. And so we're going to deal with that tonight, and we'll kind of get into it. So of course, for those of you who are tuned in now and watching, please share and invite some people to the conversation. Of course, this is for families and even with children who are high school age and above. So as long as they're high school age and above. And I mean, if you choose to allow someone a little younger to be a part, that's your choice. Of course, it's your discretion, your family. But That's what our target is, and so we're going to jump right into this conversation for caring for ill family members. We'll start with that part, and then we'll deal with the death part on the back end. So who wants to begin with what it takes, or on either side of it, what it takes and or the experience of caring for an ill family member?
I'll go with what it takes first.
Wait a second. Let me have y'all introduce yourselves first, please.
Okay.
Hey guys. I'm Monique Bevins, number 2.
I'm Jasmine Bevins, number 3.
I'm Candace Bevins, number 4. The daddy. I can go now?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say what it takes teamwork, because it was a lot. It's a lot of us. It's kind of easy because you don't have to have so much on one person. Everyone can evenly take what they, but I think that it takes like teamwork, communication, so that you can know like what already happened with the person, what didn't happen when it's your turn, when it's time for rotation or whatever. What was the other part of the question?
That was it.
Yeah.
What did you say? Oh,
that was it. Oh.
I mean, right? No, I was saying you could answer either one of them. You didn't necessarily.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right.
What was the other one though? What it takes and what?
Ill family.
Caring. What it takes. What it.
Sorry, y'all.
Sorry, y'all. Let's start over.
What it takes. What it takes to care for an ill family member. And so I was asking, what does that look like? And how is that?
That's what it was. What does it look like? Okay. All right, got it.
And what does it take? Got it.
Oh,
go ahead.
I think that it looks like, and it takes a lot of teamwork. It takes planning. Like, I think something important in anything that takes like, that multiple people are going to be involved in, I think it takes a conversation first, so that everybody understands their role, everybody understands what needs to be done, and everybody can like say what they can handle, because not everybody can handle everything. But it really looks a lot easier.
That was good.
Thanks. It really looks a lot easier than it actually is. Because when you see people like, dealing with their ill family members or whatever, you might, pity them or whatever, but you also look at them and think like, oh, well, they got it. It kind of looks like they've been doing it all their life if they're doing it correctly. So it like almost everything else in life kind of looks easier when you just see it from an outside perspective, but it definitely takes a lot more work than it appears to. But after a while, it just becomes like clockwork once you understand what needs to be done.
Gotcha.
I would say that it definitely takes communication, and I think it takes stability, like in yourself, because you can't be, because it takes a lot of work and there's a lot of teamwork. It can easily get like overwhelming. So you have to be firm in what you already have to do, like for yourself and for your life, to be able to know when and where you can add on the responsibility of what that is as well, or else you'll just be a mess. It definitely takes that word, yeah, it'll come back to me. Not like sympathy for the person, but like I think it, yeah, okay, like being caring, being kind, whatever, like compassion, and having patience with who you have to take care of, because if they could do it themselves, they would. So yes.
So we have 2 comments. It says it takes missing time from work sometimes, and it takes compassion and patience. So talk about how now, of course, this is close. We'll talk about granddad. This was close. So talk about emotionally how it deals. Do you think that children should be involved in taking care of family? Empathy. A comment says empathy as well. Do you think children should be involved in taking care of a family member? I mean, of course, y'all are children, but do you think, like, is it fair? Is it not fair? What should happen? How should this go down? Because some children feel like, I don't really want to do this. Like, I don't, or some parents are like, they don't need to, or, and then they're burnt out. And then, so tell me, how do you feel it should go when it comes to the children at different ages?
I think that the only unfair thing would be to force a child to do either one. So it would only be unfair if you force the child to help, or if you force the child to not be like around them because of what you think they can handle or not. I think it's important to let the child make that decision, because sometimes, like, I know in our case, like, a joke or like something we always said was like, I mean, like, he might not be able to use that leg, but his mouth is the same. Like, he can still talk, like, he's fine. And so, like, sometimes if you were forced the child, or if we were forced to, like, you know what, I don't think y'all will be able to handle this, you just not going to be around like that, we might have missed out on moments and memories that we're going to always have with my grandfather, rather than us like having a conversation about what we can handle. I think it's important to at a certain age, like, talk to your children about what they can handle. Like, do you think you'll be able to handle this? Do you think you'll be able to, like, have an honest conversation about that? Because I really think that when it comes to like family members or people that you love or something, and them being like sick or ill or anything like that, they will be more inclined to tell you what they can and cannot handle. So I think that, the only thing that would be unfair is to force a child to do something and make it seem like they have no choice, because then they always gonna wonder what would happen if they was on the other end. So
Nothing.
I will say I agree with her, and I think that they should be given the option, because, like Gabby said, it creates memories. But also, if you can't handle it, don't like force them to just be always there. Like, let them live too, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let them be able to care for them, but also live. Like, because we had a good rotation, so it was easy for us to still do what we wanted to do or what we love to do, and then come and be able to take care of them, because we had a communication and we had a balance. Like, let them have balance.
And so, because you can't handle some things, right? Some things you can't handle, right, Candace? Like, what's the one thing that you can't handle that I didn't notice? I don't think Daddy noticed that first either.
Hospitals.
Yeah. So y'all, and I'm just saying that because, it took, I think, the second or third time that Candace was in the hospital with us, and I'm like, what's going on? She in the corner. Like, what time are we leaving? Like, what's going on in here? So, because I just think, like, we can just do it. Like, we're all just doing it because, you see, we make a joke out of stuff. Even in our pain, we make jokes, because that's how we get through. Now, don't think we don't cry, because we get some cries and some ugly cries in there, right? Yeah. But we make jokes, but we talk about a lot of things. But I don't think we even thought, like, it took a minute before we took them to the hospital. But then we took them to the hospital, I just really was just like, second time, I was like, something's not right with Candace. And so from then on, Candace doesn't go to the hospital. It's fine, unless she absolutely has to go to the hospital. This is not just my dad, but for anybody, Candace will be like the last person I'll be saying, Candace, run, can you drive to the hospital? Can you go to? No, she might drop you off there, but Candace is not going in with you. She'll have a good word of prayer with you before you get in there and when you come out. But I just have to know what she can handle. We have to know, everybody, all of us has to know what we can handle, so that it runs smoother. Because, and sometimes you got to do things you can't handle. Okay. So, like, if she has to go in there, she knows she will do it. But this is not her first. She's not the one jumping, like, I'm going to go visit y'all. No, it's not. So, but to see that, huh?
Zoom. FaceTime.
Oh, right. So, and then another thing, I didn't realize that, my brother couldn't handle it really either. But I didn't realize that because selfishly, you like, yo, for real, this both our parents. We want to get here. Like, we got the same mother and father. This not like this my father and not yours. We're about to all be in here. We're going to all take care of him. And I had to realize, and it took one of my friends saying to me, like, their brother couldn't handle it either when their parent was, sick. And I'm just like, I had to realize what he can handle. Now, of course, he came, he did things or whatever, but it was just traumatic and dramatic when he had to come and he couldn't deal with it. And so, in just a little bit, my dad just went from like doing everything to not being able to do much, but he still had his mind. So it wasn't like he didn't know us. He knew, like, he could always remember all his grandkids' names from the first one to the last. So he knew, that all of his grandkids and all that, and my kid's not his only grandkid, y'all. Okay. I have a nephew and a niece. So he could remember from, beginning to end, all of their names, all of that. Anytime they texted him, he talked to us. He knew who we were, even while he was getting sick, even while he was having strokes, he still was talking through it, and he knew what was going on. So it's kind of hard because he knows what life was just like 2 days ago, and so for him to go from that to just having us wait on him and having to teach him how to walk or teach him different things, then it was kind of hard for him. But then when I saw my brother, I'm like, no, you need to be in here because he's 200 pounds and we need your help. But, and Marcus was good, great, excellent. I didn't have to worry about anything with him. But after a while, we all needed a break. So literally, when my brother would come, we would be like, see, you got this by yourself. So, but it started getting better for him, but I did not notice that at first. And so, that's a good point that we have to notice. We have another comment that says, my mom asked me to care for her in my case. She asked me to take CPR class. And I think that's a good thing. I think every family, people should just take CPR just so they can know what to do, how to do it, and how to do it properly. Because you never know what situation you'll be in. It takes a village. If you are in the home and you are old enough, you have a task. The adult has to know how much the children can handle. Jokes make it better. Cherie, have you checked on my mother recently? Right. And I'll be like, when people get upset, I'll be like, well, at least you got your father. I don't have my father. I don't have my brother. Like, so, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't complain about it. But also, I was telling somebody one time, like, how we do things, and I was saying that even down to the youngest kids, they know how. So, like, Chanel knew how to put my father's bed back, help him to sit up in bed, sit him back up so he can get his food if he was in the bed. If he was out the bed, MJ knew how to get his table, put his food on it, push it up to him, tell him how to sit up in his wheelchair. And they were like, the young kids know how to do that? I'm like, yeah, everybody needs to work now. Of course, they weren't doing it by themselves, but for the most part, we didn't have to, it was like, get granddad ready to eat. They knew what to do. Mm-hmm. Now, they couldn't cook the food, so we all, had a part. So my mom had the biggest part of all. Like, she had to do every single thing. So we had to figure out how to do something to, help her to take some of the weight off of her.
I think sometimes you have to consider what you bring to the table, and everyone has to utilize each other's strengths and not just throw people in the fire who are going to underproduce, because that can do harm. Mm-hmm. In a sense. So you have to go through a period of teaching the ones that don't understand. But when they understand that you can help them. Another thing too, with our children, like you mentioned about the younger ones, they wanted to help. Yeah. They wanted to participate because they kind of were around and saw all that was going on and, doing all of that. But, it's a process. But I think one of the key components that is a defining point is that you have to be willing to sacrifice. and you have to be willing to make life adjustments and not just a moment adjustment. You may have to adjust your work schedule. You may have to adjust some of your extracurricular activities, or what have you. Like, all of those things could be a little different. So, you run into some of those things, at times. Somebody has a device that's feeding back. I'm not sure if somebody's watching it on something else or something, but it's feeding back through your microphone over there.
Like you guys, not us, and not nobody watching us.
So, but nonetheless, it's really, that sacrifice and being committed to the sacrifice. You have to determine what your sacrifice is going to be, but then you have to be committed to the sacrifice and making sure that what you're doing, you're going to do for the long haul. And this is the thing, you don't know how long that's going to be. You don't know how long that's going to be. So you have to be willing to, ride it out.
This was like almost 5 years for us. No, it was like 4 years for us, right? So another comment is you create a care plan. You give the task as to what they can handle, even if it is to make sure they have water or just check on them and let the adult know what they need. True, because running up and down the steps can be something, right, for an adult. But a 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, they can do that real good, run up and down the steps for you. So, everybody has to know their part. And so in turn, we sat them down to ask them, what would you, and I'm asking y'all families too, sit down, and thank y'all for being on here. I know some of y'all have lost your parents, your children, like people very close to you, family members. Thank y'all so much for being on here. And please comment, please ask questions. We sat them down and we asked them what would happen. Like, if something happened to one of us and we needed somebody to take care of us, what would y'all do? And the main thing is that everybody needs to know their role. And they need to know, like you said, you have to be committed to your role. And that because, they've experienced this, my father didn't necessarily, I asked my father something one day, like, he was like, Ree, when you buy your house, you don't buy your house thinking that you're going to ever have to wheel out of it, because we had to, like, Marcus had to measure to get a ramp. We had to put the ramp, and then we had to push him, all 200 pounds of him, up the ramp to the outside so he can go to therapy. And so, even with that, all of us had to play our part. Sometimes you had to be 16 or 15, whatever the age was, so you can go to therapy with your grandfather. You know what I'm saying, y'all? So, you go to therapy, you get on a bus and you go to therapy and you come on back just so my mother can have a break. We had to take turns, and they thought, oh, wow, this is so amazing. We don't think it's amazing. We just think we're just doing our part because my dad, and regardless, whether he was there or not, he was our family member and he needed help, but he always took care of us. And so we all pitched in to take care of him. I remember we were in the hospital and Marcus was feeding him. And I was like, I'm about to be in tears here because he's just feeding him, and he's doing whatever he needs him to do. And this is just amazing because everybody doesn't want to do that. We left from our house, moved to their house, and it's a lot of us, y'all. But God worked it out so that we can make it work. It's unbelievable when we sit there and think about it. Like, we was all living there, but it worked. It just worked. Literally, it worked. And my father was good. We were all good. Now, I don't know. My mother wasn't all that good. She might was ready for us to go. But, no. I mean, we had a system and it worked. My mom could still do the things she wanted to do, like go to line dance or whatever, and my father was good. He still had friends come over, see him. He still sat on the porch like he used to. Anybody who knows my father knows he was on the porch waving at people when they drove past or walked past or whatever. He still did all the things. He actually, the day my father passed, he was at a party. He was leaving from a party. So everybody like, he was at a party. Yeah, he was retired, and they have parties twice a year. So he still went to his parties, all of that. Life was still as normal as it could be for him. But because we all took a role, and that's what we set them down to ask them. And that's what I'm asking y'all, to sit your children down and ask them, because everybody like me, I didn't know that my brother was going to be like that. Now, I knew that whenever we talked about death, my brother would be like, oh, all right, here we go. Like, it's all good. Like, nobody's going to live forever, but it was important for us to sit them down, because we needed to see what, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? Who got the money? Who going to drive the car? Who going to the appointments? Who going to understand what the doctor's saying? Who going to make sure we eat? Who going to make sure the bills still get paid in the house? Because listen, y'all, when you taking care of somebody, little things like, did you pay the BGE might slip you. You be like, wait a minute. Did I pay the bills this month? What's going on? Because you're so busy trying to focus on your new life, your new things that you have to do, that things slip away. So somebody has to be there to play that role. Like, okay, I'm gonna make sure we pay the bills. I'm gonna go to the grocery store, whatever. Because if everybody's doing the same thing, something is gonna lack.
Right.
You should talk about it in advance, and it is wonderful when your mate can help. John Davis saved me so many times with my mom, and I can attest to that. And so, it's good, because when you realize that this is who you are with, and this is your family too. Like, people be like, your husband moved there? Your husband be helping with him? Yes, he does. That's his dad too. Same thing I'm gonna do with his family. Same thing. It's my family. So you just have to, talk about it. So we joke like so much, and so and it's in my dad. We're using my dad, but if Monique would tell you, like, we take care of a lot of people, like, even they are good friends, they are family members, and over these last years, y'all, you need to I'm just asking y'all to really keep us in your prayers, because we have lost a few good people, a few good ones over these last few years, but we all have had a hand in taking care of them in some way. And I was just laughing. I was saying Monique, because Monique knows I will stop at an accident. Monique be like, oh Lord, please let them be okay. Please don't let, so we can keep going the way we going. Or she won't have to call somebody and be like, yo, we're not gonna make it because my mother out the car doing stuff, One day me and Marcus was out the car directing traffic. The guy died. We couldn't even we directing traffic because the police wasn't there. Like, so y'all, we're always taking care of somebody that's just, and your family may not be that family, but when it comes to a family member in your household or somebody very close to you, you need to set the roles, who's going to do what. And sometimes it's a quick turnaround. I had to teach my mother a lot of things really quickly, and everything I didn't teach her. A lot, the physical therapist taught her, the people at the, the hospital taught her, but sometimes you just need somebody there to interpret and to, say, okay, this is what's happening. This is why you have to do this. And I had to teach her a lot of things fast. And so, just because she was doing them, we couldn't be crazy to think like she's okay. This is her husband who was doing everything for her. Now she turned around and had to do everything for herself and him. So talk about, oh, you got something? Talk about, emotionally, how it affects you when you still have things you have to do and you still have time, you can't be here, like you and Chantel had to go to school and come back and different things like that. And then, y'all can talk about when y'all left to go to sleep and came back, whatever.
I think I don't know, because I'm just different, but I think it depends on the relationship you have, and I would say how much you're involved in the process. So I would say I was heavily involved in the process. Anybody object? Great. Okay. But so for me being at school, it was kind of like a mix of both worlds. Like, okay, I don't have to think about that 24/7. But then also like, do they got it? Like, let me call them and see what they're doing. Like, don't forget this and make sure you do that. And, you know, for whatever my piece of the puzzle was. So it was just both aspects of that. Yeah.
Next.
No, that's it. I was always there.
She said, period. I was there every day. What are y'all saying?
You said
So
emotionally?
Yes.
yeah, emotionally, how does it affect you? Like, because you know, we keep seeing you go and go and go, and you may not realize that it affects you emotionally. You know, how did it affect you emotionally?
It had its ups and its downs, you know. Some days it was really like, I just can't believe this is my grandfather. Like, it didn't seem real. And then other days, you know, it was cool. But I think that it still was a joy in it because it wasn't like he completely lost himself. So he still like knew everything and all that stuff. So we were still able to have conversations, have jokes. I was still able to fill him in on stuff that happened in school. He wanted to know that I see his friends on the way home, all that stuff. Like, so it was still fine.
Oh, on the block.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it.
I can say something. So sorry. I don't think it processed or nor did it register that like the difference until it was like a more so like a memory than like a thing that was happening current, like while it was happening. I just think that like, yeah, I don't think it really processed for me, but I do know that I think that subconsciously the things that I used to do with him, I made them happen, like while we were together or something. So if he wanted to sit on the porch or whatever, and every now and then when I was younger, I would go and sit on the porch with him, I would just sit on the porch with him while I was out there. But like when we were younger, my grandfather used to pick us up from our house and bring food and everything like that. So it was just like a switch. Like now I'm bringing you your food and I'm eating food, but now you're not driving me to school. So let's watch this show. So I think that I subconsciously tried to make things work in my head.
Yes, you do. You are wonderful help with my mom, and I thank your husband. I thank your husband for letting you. Yeah, and sometimes you know it's good to. I got some jokes about that, but only me and Lynn will understand. It's just good to be able to take care of somebody else. Sometimes you know it brings you joy, even though you be tired, but it brings you joy to be able to do that. So I don't never take for granted when somebody asks me to help them, you know, with it, even if it's a question, even if it's the only thing y'all know when y'all send them pictures, y'all gotta warn me because I can't keep opening my phone to these pictures. But you know, just the certain things like, you know, just helping out and stuff, I don't take it for granted because that gives a level of trust that you have in me. And even my family members, you know, when you're like, you don't mind if they sit with your person or whoever, whatever. So,
I would say this too, that you have to always keep in mind too that even what a person is good at naturally might not be what they're capable to do in that situation.
Yeah.
So, for example, she's a nurse, but it's kind of hard to focus on being a nurse when it's your dad.
Yeah.
Because in some instances, you leave being a nurse and you become a daughter. And so you have to be able to allow people to have their moments to be the family member and not the professional, in whatever aspect that is, you know. So people might say, oh, well, you know, you're a lawyer or, you know, you're this or you're that. Whatever your niche is, whatever it is that you do, that's fine. But at the same token, you have to give them space to be human. You have to give them space to, you know, to be able to digest what they're actually facing and you know, dealing with, because that's important. And I think sometimes people will assume, oh, you don't have to worry about this, you don't have to worry about that because they this or they got that or, you know, whatever. And it's like, nah, in another case, that might be the situation. But in this one, I ain't got it. I'm not, I'm not there, I'm not doing too well, or whatever the case. And then likewise too, you have to be willing to put your pride aside in situations like these, because you're going to have to reach out for help. And it may not be help for you to bring your hands, but it might be help for you to be an ear so that I can vent, or, help for you to be my encouragement to keep me on point, so that, as I'm getting tired, or as I'm feeling overwhelmed, or as all of those things are happening, that you're my voice that keeps me on track. You're my reminder of what I believe. You're my, what I'm saying? Like, because sometimes all of those things can go out the window at times if your emotions begin to take over in a situation. So, we do have to give people room and space to be human when they're dealing with things, because, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do, what position you have, you're still human, and you're going to experience, the feelings of life when life happens, and life happens to everyone, and it happens in different ways. And your personal makeup will determine how you react and respond to it, because that's just who you are and that's just how you are. But it's still life, and it's still happening to you.
Yeah, and I think that was a part with my brother. I seen him helping other people do so many other things. I'm like, what's going on here? They need you here to do this. Like, literally, it took my brother probably, he had an hour drive to get to us when my father went to the hospital. It took him a whole day to get there. Like, where are you? What's going on? You in traffic? Did you leave the state? What's going on? Why is it taking you so long to get here? But he couldn't. And then when he got there, it was just, he just couldn't do it. Right. And I couldn't get it because I was just so messed up. Like, I've been here all day. Like, you come in here like, this is not fair, and all these other things. And I'm like, no, it's not fair that we've been waiting for you, because y'all literally, this is honest. I'm telling y'all, I told y'all we a real family. It's like, that's not fair that we've been waiting for you all day long, and now you get here and then you want to say all this stuff and ask all these questions. And I called you early this morning, so. But that was he couldn't cope with, he was trying, but it just was hard for him to see my father like that, whatever. But, and not just family members, but my dad had a lot of friends. And it was like, some of them came over like, oh, you could see kind of like they would come over, talk to him, and they on their face would be like, oh, like he's still talking, like he has his mind. He just can't move one side of his body. He has his mind. He's fine. He know you. He remember all the stuff. He remembers it all. So just come over, talk to him, sit on the porch with him, something. And I think as they started coming, they were able to see like, okay, it's all good, because they didn't want to see him a certain way. Because some people just want to remember you, how you were. They might call you, talk on the phone, but they don't want to see you, messed up.
Yeah. Another question that I would pose to you guys, when dealing with family members and you getting frustrated in a process of caring for someone who's ill, how do you manage your anger, your frustration, to not lash out at innocent people because you've got built up irritation, frustration, and you sneeze and they like, God bless you, like, bless who? You ready to go off.
He blessed me.
Go off.
I didn't deal with that well. I just went off. I think it was good. I think I need to pray a lot more than I did probably, because it just didn't work. Like, I know you're not telling me how to do this when I'm down here. His leg weigh about 200 pounds, one leg, and you're telling me what to do. You better go back up them steps, so just ain't work. It didn't work, bro. Go ahead.
I don't know if I'm giving you the right advice, but I can give you my advice. How I handled it, if I were to get frustrated in a situation, I hold stuff, so I would hold it. Can't explode. Black household. Hold it, and then wait until the process is done, and then go and find somewhere to release it, or go and find somewhere to, calm down or something like that. Or if you can take a step back while you're right there, like right there in that moment, if you can take a little bathroom break or something like that, then I advise you to do so, because tension and like attitudes and stuff are not going to help the situation. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get the process done any faster. So if you just, take the attitude that was, fuming out of you and just grab it, bring it back, and then just release it. Yeah, just bring it back and then release it out when you're not in that area, because you also don't want to make like that family member that you're caring for feel uncomfortable or whatever, because they can't really like leave. Like in my grandfather's case, he couldn't really be like, oh yeah, y'all crazy, I'm gonna move. Like, while y'all handle this, like, I mean, he could probably tell you, he really could.
He did. Well, we'll talk about that, man.
He could probably tell you to move, or y'all be quiet, or y'all, but he couldn't really like, be like, yeah, I'm just gonna head out. Because if he could, then none of this would be, happening. So my only advice really that worked for me would be to just hold it, maybe take a deep breath or something, start counting. This is when I started counting things around me to calm me down. I don't know if that's like a sane thing, but I started counting stuff around me, and just let it go when you got a chance. Because
by the way, you bring it back, look like a phony dance move. Just want to let you know that. Go ahead.
I'm part of the praise team, y'all.
Whoa.
What part?
Okay.
Go ahead, Candace.
With me, I think, like she said, you have to hold it, but I also have to like have patience, because there were a lot of times when I just wanted to be asleep, and he would be yelling my name.
Let's talk about it.
And I want to be asleep, but you're yelling, and so I have to remember he can't get up and he can't get what he wants to get, and it's across the room. Or when he thinks that something's right there, but it's not. And so now I have to take my time and explain to you that it's not right there, because we moved it and why we moved it and who told me to move it and what time we moved it and when it's going to get put back. I had to take my time and be like, okay, I know I'm tired, but he bored. Like, that's how I feel. He bored, and he's going to somebody talk to you, and I'm just going to talk to you. I'm about to give you a Bailey too, because I don't understand.
I think for me, I don't think I had anything specific. I think it kind of depended on like what the situation was, but I feel like my go-to was quiet time. Like, just everybody be quiet. Just, like, he'd be talking. I can't do the back and forth with him. I'd be like, I'm asleep. And then if I don't answer him a couple times, he'd be like, oh, would you sleep? Like, yes. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to know. Okay, well, ask me in the morning. I used to always tell him that. Well, in the morning, ask me again, because right now is not the time. Like,
well, when grandma come down here, ask her.
Yeah, like, but I think more of my frustration stemmed from other people and not him.
Mm-hmm.
So in that aspect, I feel like I didn't have patience. I was just like, actually, just move. I got it. Like, don't worry about it. I got it. I can do it. So I feel like in that aspect of getting frustrated, I just was like, I'll just do it. Like, even if I don't got time, even if I don't feel like it, even if my body like a little sore and I can't pick him up right now, I'll just do it, because you're in the way or you're making the process too long, and then it's fine after that. Yeah,
there was two people instead of one.
Because a lot of people wanted to help, but you don't know how to help.
You don't know how to help.
You didn't really like.
You didn't know what
figure it out, or you just thought it was about to be easy because you think because I'm doing it, it's easy, and it's not. And then you be then like drop my grandfather or something, and I'm like, excuse me, move. I got it.
Yeah, and that's not gonna ever work.
Ever.
So, but now my father did leave one time, y'all. He was out back in a wheelchair, and he took the brakes off, and he just went on down the alley. And I came back, and I'm like, what's going on? We're supposed to be waiting for the bus. I think I went to like close the door up or something, and you
tried to make a break for it.
Going down the alley. He's talking about, I just wanted to see what was going on down here. No, not when cars be coming up down the alley. You don't need to see what's going on down here. You need to stay in the yard, okay? So he can leave when he felt like it. He did leave sometime, I guess. So, but that is true, because you can be frustrated, and you can be frustrated with each other, because you're like, I've been here all day long.
You talking about you tired.
Talking about you tired. That's fine, but you're not tired from this, so you're gonna have to get a second win, because it's your shift. You know, so that's you. This can, taking care of a loved one can tear your family apart too. If you don't know how, it can tear your family apart. So y'all, I'm telling you, please try to have, know that it's a sacrifice, know that it's a commitment, and know that when it's time for you to play your part, we looking for you to do it. All of y'all, any family member is looking for you to do your part. Now, everybody doesn't have a lot of people like us. So some people, it's probably 3 people taking care of one person or something like that. So you have to remember, I tell anybody that's a caregiver to please remember to take time for yourself, So yes, and just for instance, Monique may say, oh, I'll just stay here, or I'm not going to go if we can't figure out a schedule. And it's like, no, you need to go to that outlet. No, Candace, Jasmine, y'all need to go to Step or whatever they did. Y'all need to go to that outlet, and because everybody needs to get an outlet. And even now, some of my caregivers, they think like, I can't, but you have to find an hour, 2 hours. You have to find time, somebody that can come just sit, Now, sometimes that presents a problem because people don't understand what they need to do, or they think they know what to do instead of listening to you so you can tell them what to do while you're gone. And that's why a lot of people don't leave their loved ones, especially some of us that had loved ones we took care of or are still taking care of them. We find it hard because you don't want somebody else to come, and then they frustrated when you get back, and it's even worse. Mm-hmm. But you have to find somebody that you can trust. You might have to hire somebody. But what I will say, if you are hiring someone to take care of a loved one, even while your family is still taking care of them, you don't from the first day just leave.
Right.
Okay. And if you leave, you show back up at whatever time you want to. You might say, I'm coming back at 6, and you show back at 3. And if you have cameras in your house, watch them. And it's sad that I have to say that, but a lot of my patients will say they've been through 3 and 4 caregivers before they found one that's good to them and for them. So you have to find the fit, especially for somebody, my father had somebody who used to take care of him in the beginning, and he loved her, Marquita. He loved her. Like, she did good, so it's like, if Marquita not coming today, we don't want nobody else. Like, just if Marquita can't come, we just got to do it. So, when you find a fit, you try to keep it the same for your family member, and that will also give you relief. So can y'all talk about like how, like trusting God, or, your relationship with God, how did that play a role in you being able to take care of not just granddad, but deal with any of your family members that have a decline in their health?
I'm gonna answer that, but I'm gonna piggyback off of the last thing. First, the one thing I want people to remember: anyone who is dealing with caring for a family member, or if you are in the caring business at all, understand that the person that needs the care, you have to understand, this is the psychologist side of it. You have to understand that they are still processing that their life has changed. And in many cases, although they are living through it, it has not processed in their mind yet that I'm sick or that I'm disabled, or, and so even when they hear it, even when they go through the motions, whether it's through therapy or, all of that kind of stuff, they still have to accept to a degree that this is where I am, and this is my, this is my new normal. And they don't necessarily have to accept it to the point where they give up on hope of regaining, full strength and getting back to the way that they, once were. That's a goal that they can have, and that's good because that motivates them. But there has to be a level of acceptance that this is my current state, and that this is my now, even if it's not going to be my forever. And processing that can be difficult because you've spent all of this time, all of this life doing one thing, and then in a moment, or it could be a decline, but whatever the way, you end up here. And it's like, this can't be my life. And you have to understand that sometimes their response, sometimes they're acting out, sometimes their frustration or anger, it's not toward you, but it's really toward the situation that has them feeling the way that they feel. And especially for a man, because men feel like their manhood has been taken from them. So, that becomes a major issue. That's why for me, it was, I had to walk gently in my roles in the beginning so that I would not damage his manhood. Because if he in his mind, I am still always going to be the man. And even when we moved in there, I reassured him that he's the man of the house and all of those things, because I never wanted him to feel any less than what he was prior to his situation occurring. And, you know, on my side, it was a matter of me putting my pride aside, because as a man, you need to have pride. It's not just something that you can have. It's something that you need to have. That's how you produce at a level that you need to as a man. And so I had to put my pride aside to actually deal with the purpose of why we needed to be there. And in doing that, I had to humble myself in a situation where I had to be the help. So it was about making sure that his mental was good. And my entire role for his entire illness was to make sure that his mind was intact. And so I even embraced being the bad guy when, you know, he wasn't listening or when things were happening.
When was you the bad guy?
I was the bad guy because I was the enforcer. So if y'all
it was always the only person who got sense is Muck. It was always that.
Mark was never the bad guy.
No, I'm saying that because the things that y'all would say, he wasn't listening. So then you would say, okay, we need you to go do this. So in a sense, I had to be the bad guy to say, listen, this is what's going to happen. This is the way it has to be. Now I may explain it to him in a way that doesn't degrade his manhood, but he would just be like, all right, man, all right. You know, but it was about me, it was about me going in there to
It was Mark.
me going in there to, you know, kind of get things in a manner where we could move forward, you know, and not be stuck in this same place. Because sometimes it takes a man to talk to a man and for him to listen, because his manhood wouldn't allow him in many instances, even if he knew that y'all were right, to submit to my grandkids and what they telling me I need to do. Mm-hmm. I do it when I feel like it. You're not going to tell me what to do just because you're my grandchild. So off the break, I'm just having one of them moments where you're not going to belittle me. You're not going to make me feel like you in charge. You're not, I'm in charge. This is my house. And then he'll go on, you know, a rant like that just to reestablish his manhood and to reestablish, you know, his position. And sometimes that's necessary. And you have to understand that happens. So I wanted to share that part too, so that when you're caring for people, understand their mental in this process, not just their physical. As far as how God played the role for me, it was everything, because, you know, that's naturally for me how I have to kind of cope living life, period. But it was more in that time, because I had to fulfill my position in caring for Dad, but I still also had to manage my mom, who was out of state and ill. So, you know, still traveling in a sense every month to go and visit her and make sure she was good and all of that kind of stuff, you know, still dealing with Dad, still dealing with, you know, like still being a support for the family and making sure that they don't run out of strength, that they don't, you know, that they don't fall apart. So it was kind of like I had the responsibility of being the glue everywhere. And in order for me to do that effectively, it was definitely going to be, you know, God giving me the strength, giving me what to say, how to say it, to, you know, put out fires, to, you know, spark some in some instances, whatever was needed. But it was me relying on God to walk me through that.
Go ahead.
You going? Go ahead.
Oh, what?
Come on, Candy.
I think, like Daddy said, it was, you had to really rely on him. But at the same time, I didn't really understand, you know. Mm-hmm. And my parents always say, you know, never question God, and people do the whole cliche, things happen for a reason. But at first, I just could never. It just didn't make sense. I'm sorry. Is that wrong? No. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't sitting right with me. Like, I didn't really, you know, I was just like, you know, especially after having a conversation with my mother, and she was saying, people have strokes and, they can come back from it, or they're not always affected, like, physically or whatever. I didn't understand. I mean, not the whole left side. Like, it wasn't like, why? Like, why is it happening? Like, it didn't really make sense. But I think in those times, it also came with, like, my family, like, being able to be there because we all helped each other cope with it at the same time while still being able to help him.
Can we talk about the illness and the death, or are we just still on illness?
No, we're going into death.
We're going into this.
Okay.
Anyways, so I think that when it comes to God and my relationship with God and everything, first of all, right before any of this happened is right when I actually had a relationship with God. Like, that's the first time I actually had a relationship with God. I went to church, we all went to church, everything like that. But I wasn't curious until maybe like 6th, 7th grade. So I wasn't really like getting to know God or like letting God get to know me or like, having relationship conversation, actually praying by myself and not family prayer till about right about then. So that's when I first started my relationship with God. But then this happens, and I can say personally that I wasn't really upset, confused, or anything like that, because all that mattered to me was that he was alive. Like, I was just grateful that he was alive, and that I still had time with him, and that he still had his right mind. Like, in my mind, I had no reason to really complain. Like, things happen. Like, I just never really questioned it, but I didn't get upset at, like, I didn't get mad at God in a sense, or I didn't get upset or anything until he died, because it didn't make any sense to me. Like, this, first of all, the death had nothing to do, if I'm not mistaken, had nothing to do with what I know about. I felt like if the death had anything to do with what I've been dealing with for all these 4 years, then I'll be a little bit more understanding of God. But like, I don't understand why, you did it this way and stuff like that. I also was really upset at God because I was like, now I got to go to this funeral and see all these people I don't know, for all of them to try to touch me and say hello and talk. Like, I don't really. And then I was just looking at everybody, and people, you know how like at funerals and stuff, people will be like, oh, like, I just miss you so much, and you just ain't never seen them. Like, I've been here for about 16 years and I've never seen you. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? No, not miss me, but like miss him, like miss Granddad. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. So I would get upset and everything like that. But I wasn't really upset until like the death happened. And I think I was more open to God being there for everyone else but me. Like, I was more open to like God being there for my siblings. I was more open to, let's pray for you, but let's not touch me, because I don't want to talk to him right now because he didn't answer my question without me asking it. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like, that's it. That's all. But that's really the only time that I think I had any type of animosity.
Like, how do you overcome it? Or did you still got animosity? Or?
I don't have animosity with God no more. How I overcame it, I think. Thank you, guys. Okay. Let me collect my.
I was like, she was saying overcome it now.
How I overcame it would have to be by getting back to what I was doing prior to the death. Like, getting back to actually having a conversation with God and not going at it hostile. Like, hey, and people be like, God don't speak, but God speaks, y'all. And be like, hey, and he'd be like, hey, how you doing? And I'd be like, well, ever since you killed my grandfather, I don't know how I'm doing. Like, I didn't approach him with that energy. Like, I was paying more attention. Like, when my grandfather died, I wasn't really paying attention in church. I was really just kind of sitting there, just kind of wandering off in my thoughts. Like, because I was upset about multiple things. I was upset about the fact that I'm going to go to prom, I'm going to graduate, and he's not even here for, like, that's the stuff that really bothered me. Like, you couldn't just held him over. I'm about to graduate. Just give me a year and a half more. Give me a couple more years. Give me a little bit more. But something else I couldn't be upset about is the fact that the way that God spoke to me, didn't have a prom, working on it, didn't have a prom, didn't have a graduation though, thank God, but didn't have a prom. And something else is that, like, the way that I feel God spoke to me is my grandfather always said, God willing, maybe I'll be here. I'm not going to be here that much longer, y'all. Like, he always said that, even before that. So it was kind of like a reminder, like a random reminder, which is why I think it was God speaking to me, where it was just like, you see, like, I kind of try to prepare you. Like, here you go. Like, I didn't tell you. I don't have to tell you. And then after, like, Pastor, PTS, shout out to PTS, I don't even think this wasn't my grandfather's funeral, but I went to another funeral, and this is when I really, like, all the animosity was gone, when he said, like, why are you mad about somebody that wasn't yours in the first place? Like, this is borrowed time. You're building relationships with people who didn't belong to you in the first place, and now that they're going back to, it's like borrowing somebody's charger, and when they ask for it back, you're mad. Like, it wasn't your charger. You didn't buy it. You didn't do anything like that. So that analogy, or that
I'm trying to get to 100.
that analogy and stuff like that really helped me, like, get through it. So
Okay, good. That's good.
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, great. I think for me, like, oh right, God. I think because she just don't pay attention, I don't remember what I'm supposed to talk. Okay, I think for me, God was like, yeah, I had a relationship with God then, and I feel like it was the only thing that I had at the time, because I don't like talk about my emotions or whatever. So it's like all I really had was God, because I'm not about to be like, today I feel like, and yesterday I felt like no. And it doesn't really like affect me that I don't speak on it, because I've been doing it for so long. That is like the process for me. So I feel like my relationship with God was like all I had at the time, because it's like, you already know, I don't have to say it, and I'm not gonna say it. So like that's how it was. But I feel like it also helped, because like when the time came, I knew, if that makes sense. I feel like my relationship with God helped me to be like in tune with what was going on, like trusting him throughout the process. So when the time came, I was more like disturbed, but not in a chaotic way. Like, it was just like, it's never going to be okay with me, but I'm okay with it type of thing. So it was just like, it was like, I knew, like, I could feel it, like, like, it was like having them conversations for them 3 days, like, you sure, God? I mean, if it's in your will, it's not in mine. But if that's what you want, then I guess, like, and already initially, like, before it was like, okay, this is it. Like, all right, you're gonna have to help me, because I'm feeling like this is it. So you're gonna have to come on over to my side, because I'm gonna need some strength. Like, so I feel like that was like my relationship with God through the whole process. Especially because I was away for half of the process. So, but then it's like, I'm always the person, like, I'm the person that say everything happens for a reason. Like, everything happens for a reason, but that's my, like my, I don't know, probably my, I just like, everything happens for a reason. Like, it's going to show itself. It's going to reveal itself, you know, so that I can just go ahead and move on to the next thing, because I can't be sitting right here trying to figure it out. But I think that in me thinking that, things started to be like, yeah, he wasn't going to be able to see that happen. He wasn't going to be able to be here while this happening. And then, and nobody's COVID, y'all. So, like, he wasn't going to be able to do it, because he was going to be just like his wife and feel like he could go wherever he wanted and do whatever he wanted to do, and you can't. And so, it's like, you know, certain things had to happen for reasons. And then it's like, okay, we're like prom and graduation. I know that was my big thing. Like, I always was telling y'all since day one, like, I don't know how y'all can get him to California, but he gotta come. Like, or nobody can come. It's fine. Everybody can stay home. But like, so then it's like,
California. We just
right. Then it's like, I didn't have one in person anyway, and then it wasn't in California. So it's like, okay, so that's not like, oh my gosh, I'm all walking across the stage. My grandfather not here. Was more mellow for me to be able to like enjoy my day and be okay with it, because none of that, like, I was gonna be upset if it happened this way and he couldn't be there, and it didn't happen. Like, none of that. God was like, okay, it just won't. Don't worry about it. It'll just happen. Like, oh, okay, got it. So yeah.
Oh, Candace, you ain't answer?
I ain't answer.
Didn't you answer?
First.
She was
Oh, she
first.
went?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
went first.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm last.
Yeah, I went.
Yeah,
You
I was
did.
telling you. Oh, okay. So, well, definitely, I was just so when he passed, I was already planning to go to that cruise. So I went on the cruise, and you know, Colleen was my roommate, and she just wouldn't let me be by myself at all. But it was a good thing, right? But she knew when it was time. It was just crazy because she just knew. She knew when you just gotta be, like when you just gotta shed them tears, when you just gotta. And I was saying, no, I'm not going on the cruise because, first of all, this is crazy. My father just passed away. I'm not doing this. I'm not going on this cruise. I need to be here, to be in charge. And Marcus was like, there, the best, doing everything.
Big Mark.
My friends were stopping by and doing stuff, and telling people what they're not gonna do. So it worked out, and I think that I really needed to do that. But even all the way, I was talking to God, like, God, like, like, I don't know how to live without this man. So you gotta help me to live without him, because I don't know. Like, still you in your 40s and you don't know. Like, it's just nobody prepares you to live when they're gone. There's very few people who be like, when I'm gone, this is what I want you to do. The only thing he told me was at his wake, don't be standing there because he's gonna be just fine. He can be by himself. So, y'all, I pull on those things, like the funny things, like, even when I would pray, I'm like, God, you gotta get me through this, because people gonna come and be asking crazy questions and be, I gotta watch the kids. And even though Marcus is strong and was in charge, like, when I get back, I gotta check on Marcus. So even while I was gone, I'm still trying to check in and see what's happening whenever it would give me some service. You know what I'm saying? So,
And all she got was mind your business.
Yeah, but then you did tell me, like, this is the rank, all of that. And I want to make sure my mother was okay. My mother and my aunt was like, oh, you're not showing up here tomorrow? You going on that cruise. And, the Bible says, let the dead bury the dead, right? And I used to be, that's Bible say that, right? Mm-hmm. And I used to, we be quoting sometimes, like, where's that at? And I used to think, like, well, I remember the first time I heard Pastor Tony say, the Bible said, let the dead bury the dead. And I was just like, this can't. Like, this is amazing. But to me, I feel like, not like don't respect it, don't honor it, but you still got to keep your life moving. Mm-hmm. If you can't understand what I'm saying, you still got to keep your life moving. Like when my brother passed, Monique had to dance that night. Monique was like, I'm gonna go ahead and go, because she recognized she still had to keep her life moving, even though I thought, like, oh, she's not gonna go. But if she go, all right, make sure she good. Whoever going with her, make sure it's okay or whatever. I think Chantal went or something, right? Mm-hmm. Or she, so it's like, I had to, like, say, then somebody was like, if your father knew that you was going to waste all that money, because my father liked cruises, he went on cruises. So if I was going to waste that money, him and Mark was going to be upset. Like, so, and my mother was like, you're not coming here. You're going there. But even in the process, y'all, it's hard when you don't have everybody. Social media. So let's talk about social media when your family member or somebody close to you passes away, a friend, a cousin, whatever it is. You cannot go posting right away, okay, on social media. I love them. I miss them. I can't believe my heart's broken. This, and this, because you have to think about all the components of the family. And if you don't know that, you just need to just wait. And so Marcus had to be like, if anybody put anything, because we had to be able to get to Monique, and Monique was hours behind us. Mm-hmm. So we had to wait. So that was another one of my things. I had to kind of like tell people, like, listen, we had to kind of act like normal for a little bit, see, y'all be looking at Team Bevins and the Bevins 8 and y'all don't know, like, we had to kind of be like, this didn't happen for a second so we can move forward, so till everybody could find out, when deep down inside we like, what are you saying? Like, so you saying that I can't? My mother was like, you need to go to your nail appointment and do. Now, granted, y'all, my mother was sad, okay, like crying real tears. But she was like, in order, we have to make sure Monique doesn't, like nobody wants to find out because you posted it on something. So my mother was like, you go, because I had a nail appointment because my father had went to the hospital, so I had missed. So I had a nail appointment, I had to go in there and act like nothing. And they were like, well, how's your day? And how my phone was ringing, my cousins, my nephew, people calling me, and they probably thought I couldn't answer because I was sad. Now, I didn't really want to answer all these phone calls at the time, but I would have answered. Well, I would have texted back, but I'm just in there like, okay, how am I supposed to do this? But I know my father want me to do this too. I know he did. And so, and like I said, I had to think of like him telling me, don't stand here at my wake and be standing here like I can't be by myself. Because at that point, I could be by myself. And it made me laugh every time I thought about it. So even while I was standing at the wake, I'm like, sitting there, I'm like, this is funny because he's just probably like, didn't I tell you to go here home? Don't be sitting here hugging all these people. So I really had to pray. I really had to pray also because when I was okay, they weren't okay. So when you have a large family, you can have a great day. You come in the house, somebody crying. You're like, what happened? I miss my grandfather. You're like, oh, yeah, that's right. I miss him too. But today was a good day for me. Right. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to go with Jasmine, and y'all go in there and pray and talk about it because I'm trying to maintain a good day. And you don't know your kids. And I know that Monique keeps her stuff inside. So, sometimes that's why we talk, because that's an outlet for Monique to talk, to get a joke, to whatever. But when you see them tears start getting in her eyes, just tell her go to the bathroom because she's going to get it. She got to get it out when them tears start getting in her eyes. So y'all have to know each other. Y'all have to know, and then we say, is it good that we had this time? We had my brother just died suddenly. And then my father, who we had time with, and like Jasmine said, didn't die from the same thing that we was taking care of him with, but we had time with him. A lot of time that we probably went way more time than we had. I'm sorry. Am I going over something? Oh, so that, you say, which way would you like it? And me and my mother talked about this before. It's like, I don't think I like it at all. Like, I don't think I like it either way. I don't think I like, waiting. And it's not waiting because my father it wasn't like he was due to die. We wasn't like, yeah, like you can think about certain things and you could think about how you felt about certain things and be like, yeah, I should have got it when he said that. Or I should have got it when you, like, that just didn't sit right with me. But you still don't want to, because you're selfish in that moment. And so sometimes, even with the children, I had to be like, yo, we can't be selfish because I know for sure my father didn't want to live like that. He didn't want to. Now, granted, he ain't here like kill me off, but he didn't want. He always was like, I don't want to be a burden. So you have to also know the person you're taking care of, especially if they was taking care of you at one point in time in life. They don't want to be a burden. My father used to always be like, I'm so grateful for y'all. Thanks for taking care of me. Y'all don't have to do this. I don't want to be a burden. And we were like, it's fine. Like, just let us do it. Just listen to us, and we'll be fine. So. Through that, we have a lot of memories, and that's my advice to y'all. Y'all got to hang on to your relationship with God. When these things happen, I'm never going to say don't question God or don't have your moment, but I'm going to say don't stay there. Because like Jasmine said, these are loners. We're all alone to each other. And although we may not understand, although certain things may rock us, like my brother, I think we both just sat on the couch and was like, now wait, what happened? What just happened? So what you saying? He not about to call here no more. He not about to come here. He not walking down the street from the store no more. What's going on? Right. I'm not making him smoke a cigarette before he get in my car no more. What's happening? So it's like things are gonna rock you, y'all. Things are gonna shake your family, but you can't let it tear your family apart. When people die, when people get married, this is one of the worst times for us as families, but we cannot let that tear us apart. We have to all know how each other deals with things. When we learn that, and like I told y'all, I didn't know that. But when we learn that will help you to move forward in the tragedies that like I said, we had some back-to-backs, in our lives. And it's just like, wow, okay, that's happening. Okay, they passed away. Okay. Now they passed away too. she was just over here fussing at me. Now she going through, Lord. Like, but we had to pray, help each other out, and move forward, because it's not, we can't stay stuck. And yes, people deal with depression, people deal with things in all types of ways, but my advice to you is to get them help. If you can't help them, get them help. But don't tell them when their time is. Never tell anybody when their grieving time is over. Grief is first steps, and never tell them when it's over. Someday when my brother passed away, I was just like, forget taking it. Sometimes I wanted to be like, forget taking a shower, because, and I'm a very clean person, but because the shower was the moment, it was like, I could not shake it. I couldn't shake it, y'all. It was like, okay, Lord, now you want the tears to come. Okay, Lord, now I feel like I smell him. He talking to me. Whatever, whatever it is. I will walk into the house now and smell my father. My father died in 2019.
It's probably your son.
It probably is. Our son be wearing his stuff, his cologne. But it's like, huh? And those are the days where I'm gonna tell y'all, whatever you have to do. My mother thought we was crazy, but when one day I was sitting at the table and everybody left out the house, I said, "Oh no, I'm not about to do this. Let me get my stuff together, and I'm getting out this house too." My mom said, "What you left for?" I said, "Cause I want to be in there by myself." She said, "You scared?" I'm not scared, but it just feel weird right now. So I know you can handle it, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and deal with it where I'm at. And people think, oh, you're so strong. Oh, you have a relationship with God. I bleed just like you bleed. I cry and I hurt just like the next person hurts. But I deal with it differently. And so because I know God, I'm going to do my best every day, because I know that we are family and we're pushing each other. I'm going to do my best every day to get up and keep moving forward in this life. But there are some days where I could just been like, yeah, I'm okay. Especially when my brother passed away, people, that's what my kids talking about too. People was just asking a lot of questions that didn't need to be asked. So that's when you gotta come together as a family too. Like, listen, he passed away. What are you here for? Are you here to console us? Encourage us, provide something. What are you here? Because we don't have information. We don't have information.
And I got the answer.
And he has the answer.
I got the answer.
He has the answer.
Somebody asked that. They're like, how they die? I said, your heart stopped beating and they stopped breathing. Every time.
And so if you don't, then you don't like that. Then you like, oh, he getting smart. Oh, but you have to help, even if it's your family member, y'all. When you get to the house, you got to be able to provide a service, not a sit down and eat food. Provide a service. What can you do for them? Even though you hurting too. And we all had to experience that, even in our own household. Like, I'm hurting too, but what can, today, what am I going to do for them? Well, okay, can I, you want to do this? You want to do that? Let's go ahead. And then I know they knew days when it was like, no, I don't want to do it. I couldn't. At night, my brother passed away. And I'm telling y'all this because I want y'all to know. I want y'all to feel our transparency. At night, when my brother passed away, I be up. I'd be like, whoever coming, just come and just let me fall asleep right here. Marcus be in one chair sleep. I'll be in another chair sleep. The kids be all over the we all just be there together. Friends that stayed, it was a few friends that was just there every day, doing whatever we needed them to do. They just stay and be like, oh, all right, she's asleep now. But don't get up and try to leave. Because, I said don't leave me by myself. So we down here. Because upstairs and just certain places for me were tough, y'all. And so nobody can think like, oh, my son need to get over it. He knew what his father was doing. He was it, no, but the relationship and the connection you had is real. You know what I'm saying? So you can't, even me with my nephew, I'm like, if he don't show up, but I have to start understanding, like, Cherie, that's his father. This is how he deal with it.
He act just like him.
He do act just like him. But, like, that's how he deal with it. So, what? So, you can't be forcing a boy to do this, that. It was like he would show up and he would disappear. And he might just be on the block outside somewhere. Like, where is he? You need to come on. So, you have to just be like, you know, this is how they deal with it. And this is how we're going to deal with it, you know, and us as team members, even to this day, y'all, we deal with it. Like, it's some days where it's just like, woo, that's it. Especially with my nephew around, because some days he just like, I'm like, did you always look this much, like act this much like him? Like the things you say, just your gesture, you know, sometimes we look at each other like, what just happened? My mother will call me like, Dominic came over here today, and if he is not, I can't believe he run down the steps just like him. I feel like, Mom. So y'all have to let people grieve and get through it in their own way, you know, and even as a family, you know. So if you have any comments about how you get through death or any questions you want to ask us, please, we'll be on here for some more minutes. We can answer. And I'm sure y'all want to talk some more about the, you know, death of the family members, especially close family members. But, you know, and y'all, when funerals happen,
It would be irking.
I know y'all got to grieve and stuff in your own way, and you got to do it, you know. And I'm just going to give y'all this example. Like, Deneen was a friend of mine who passed away, right? She was a really, really close friend to me. And, like, my dad wouldn't even go to the funeral because him and my mother considered her their daughter, you know? Mm-hmm. So, and my brother died the same year. So my brother died, and then my father was like, so I lost the son and the daughter, you know. So, but when, as bad as I felt, you know, when I walked in the house, I couldn't feel worse than her cousin who was there years before me, even though, you know, I couldn't feel worse than her father who was, so I couldn't, as much as I, you know, before I even got there, like, I fell on the steps. I ain't fall down the steps, but I fell on the steps because it was hitting me like, somebody, y'all, when we young, these kids, y'all, when y'all young, y'all don't, if any kids are watching, high school kids, you don't know that your friend, your homegirl, your sister, your bestie, if that's what you call them, might not be there, might not make it to 40 with you. You don't know that. So when it hits you, you like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, so this is really happening. Especially for somebody who, like my dad, he knew he was going to walk again. Like he went to the day he died, he's going to walk again. Deneen, she's going to do life again, regardless of what was going on at the time. Most of the people, you know, be like, oh, this is going on. She'd be like, pray about it. I'm going to be healed and we're going to keep on moving. You know what I'm saying? So it's something as simple. We were supposed to go look for coats. Something as simple as me going to look for a coat was taking me out for a minute. Like, we were supposed to do this together. Like, Lord, what are you saying? I only got a few good ones. You taking them? You know? So you have, but people, so I couldn't walk in that house and be like, crawling in. Because, yeah, we was together since we was like in kindergarten. But I couldn't crawl in, and her father in there looking at me like, wait a minute, Cherie, get yourself together.
Right.
Like, I know you said, but come on, stay home with that. So you know, even though they consider me family, I had to know like the atmosphere when I walk in. And normally we got jokes and we got this, but there are some things, like I told y'all, Team Balance, we smile a lot, but there are some things that take me down. You know, and even now I could be driving or certain things happen, they take me down. When we ride past our house, and I know Candace, I feel my kids. Candace be like, oh Lord, this lady gonna look over here every day when we ride past here, like every single day. You're gonna look over here and get sad. I just feel Candace just get like calm, like, oh Lord. Like she probably texting them like, mommy looking over here like them flowers gonna be in the window. You know, so, and I'm not gonna, and that's why sometimes I don't like remembering death days, but some people won't let you forget it. I don't like it because I like to remember birthdays and good things and all of that because I want to keep the happy memories, you know. So, I guess nobody have any questions. If y'all but go ahead.
I know for me, like with Dad passing, it was weird. Because I knew, but I couldn't tell them, right? But but I didn't know that he was going to go then, because from he and I's conversation, he was going to be all right.
Yeah.
And then he passed while I was on the road with an artist. So I wasn't even here. So I'm like on the phone all day and all this other stuff. And so we had a tour bus that we were on for that day. So it wasn't like I was just going to be like, all right, let me just take your car, you ride with somebody else, or, whatever. But I'm like dealing with stuff over the phone and, all that back and forth. But I'm like, bruh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't think it was going to be today, or I would have, subbed out, got somebody else to cover it or do whatever. But that made it that much more difficult because I was just with him the night before. We had a little conversation type of situation. And then the next day he's gone, but I'm out of state. So I'm like calling around on all that. And then I'm just, like she was saying, I had to put some stern things in place because people will be so fast to respond or to do stuff. And so I made it clear, like, listen, I joke, but I don't play. So I don't want to have to deal with nobody when I get back. So I better not see a post or none of that on social media because my daughter don't know yet. And she's in California. So, and then she's in the midst of a production. This is a production weekend. And so I can't give her this information now. And then she's jacked up, can't do the production. She's messed up. The whole production messed up. So like it was a larger scale that we had to consider in this whole thing. So, it was like just the whole thing had to play out. And, I'm just like, at first, because I hadn't said anything to the band or the artist that I was with, but I just kept disappearing on the phone. And then it was just like, it had gotten to the point where they were just like, it's not looking good. We don't really think he's going to, make it type of situation. So I then had to tell him because I'm like, I don't know what my next phase or step is going to have to be. So, everybody's like, look, man, do what you need to do, whatever. But, it was just in that process trying to make sure that all of the proper steps were taken so that things could be in order. And then two, the following day is when she was supposed to leave for the cruise. So, it was, and then I'm trying to walk her through, you are going while I'm not there. You know what I'm saying? So, I was going to get back just in time, to see her before she leaves and before I left and, all that kind of stuff. So, it was just.
And I was like, what if I show up tomorrow? My aunt was like, you won't be showing up here. I was like, what if I show up tomorrow? I was like, I'm going to go home, but I'm going to come right back tomorrow. I'm not going on that cruise. And y'all, it was hard to have to tell people over and over too. Like that, because I get to the cruise and I had to tell the people on the cruise, like, well, some people I told before I got to the airport, then I told people in the airport, then the people was finding out, then it got posted or Marcus announced it. So then people were coming to the cruise like, Sherry, is this real? Like, and I'm like, yeah, then they hugging me and I appreciate every single thing that they did for me, how they hugged me, how they prayed for me, how they checked on me every day, like for the ones who did. And I appreciate that because although I was still in motion, they were wise enough to know that she just going through the motion. That's all she doing. Like every day I would go in the bathroom like, now is this real? I'm gonna wake up, my mother gonna be like, girl, he gonna be in this bed when you get back. Right? Like breaking me. So, but go ahead. Did y'all want to say anything about death or the coping or?
Is it necessarily a question or it's
just right now, it's just whatever you would like to say for a few minutes. Oh, wait a minute. Let me read a comment. Love this topic. Thank you because it's so real. Appreciate you. For real. It's real. Say that. Nothing like having to hear a family member pass on social media but forgetting an official call. It's horrible. It's really horrible. Thanks for discussing this topic. Much needed. Sometimes you can't forget the death day. That's true. That's true. Sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't we say that?
Okay. So I'm gonna just make it quick but on some of them, like I think it goes either way. You being the family member and somebody posted before you know, which hasn't happened to me per se, or being on the outside. I've been in the situation of like making a phone call because I saw the post and you don't know yet, and then I'm stumbling on my words like, like I stop, but I'm very like, sometimes you just gotta know your friends, so it's like I'm not about to just be like, okay, so what now, or whatever. I kind of like feel the conversation out when you answer, like how you feeling, like are you in a mood, you know? And then they kind of like, why you being weird? And I'm like, actually, why aren't you being weird? Like, what's going on? And it's like easing into it, and then like I almost told you something you didn't know, because when you call me back, you have the energy I thought you was gonna have, and then I have to tell you, yeah, I knew before you actually, and that's why I called you earlier, and that's why you have anything to say when you seem fine. I was like, oh hey. Like, you know, so it's just like being on both ends, and I feel like sometimes you can't forget the death day, which I feel like goes along with figuring out how you cope, because everybody copes differently. And like for me, I feel like I don't, and that's how I cope. Like I just cope by not, if that makes sense. In a way, it's like I kind of do, I kind of don't, but I really just don't, and that just works for me. But like, yeah, but so I feel like you have to figure out like how you process things, and it may not always be the same, which I've learned that too, dealing with different deaths. Like, this not gonna work for me, and I can't, that's not doing nothing for me. Like I'm gonna have to figure out something different. Like you got to be open to like relearning yourself or like whatever, because I feel like you changed as a person in some of these instances as well. So I feel like with coping, so I have to really figure out like what works for you, because for instance, like, let's say, I feel like a lot of people think like, well, not a lot of people, I don't feel like everybody has traumatic experiences when they deal with death. Like, it would just be as simple as the person died and that's the traumatic, but I feel like I've had a lot of like traumatic experiences. Like, it's not about like, oh, they just died, like, oh, my grandfather died, oh, my uncle died, or whatever, but it's like how I found out, or like the events leading. So like, it's a death day for me, because we never gonna forget the phone call, like jumping out of the car in the middle of the street trying to figure out what's happening, how we can get in the house, like, or my grandfather. Like, for me, it's not about his death, it's more about the day the process started, because it started on my birthday. So whenever my birthday comes around, that's what I think about. Like, and then I've had traumatic experiences, like find out on social media about friends like from school and stuff, like on my way back to college, in between flights, open up Instagram, whole life just thrown around because somebody from my high school like passed away in a tragic accident, and I didn't have like, or it's like, dang, I'm leaving on this day, so I'm not even gonna be here for no funeral or nothing like that. That's what I would say. Throughout all of the deaths, I figured out, even though I don't cope, which is funny, I figured out how to like,
you do cope.
Work. I mean, yeah, but I figured out how to make it work for me, because it's always been like a weird instance, or like I can't do what I really want to do, but later I realized, like, I say it all the time, like if I was here when that boy from my school died, I would have been a mess. Like, I would have probably been stuck there a little longer than I am now, because I wasn't able to be in the mix. And I think also because everybody knew, like, it wasn't just like, oh, I felt like we was close. It's like, also when I turned on my phone, I was receiving text messages that I didn't understand because I didn't see the post, because everybody knew we were, you know, really close. So people like, hey, you okay, blah, blah. I'm fine. Like, and then I open Instagram and I'm like, oh no, I'm not. Like, you know, just like that. So it's like, I would have been stuck there, not even because of myself, but maybe because of other people trying to make sure I'm okay when I actually can be okay, but y'all are like keeping me here a little too long. Like,
you really have had traumatic, because Graham, you wasn't here. Graham either. and to tell you.
But I feel like that's what I'm saying about how everything happens for a reason. Because I just be like, God, just know I be somewhere acting a fool. Like, what are you saying? Like, I've been in the bathroom because my roommate sleep, found out about deaths. I was at a party when Daddy called me about Granddaddy, like outside in the parking lot because I can't hear him, like going outside. And then I'm just always on the plane. Like, it's just always been not what I needed to be. And I've always had to pull myself together really quickly, because I'm around people or a lot of people, or now is just not the time to lay this on somebody else who I know can't handle it the way I can. Like, I just gotta get myself together. So I would say figure out how to cope, or when necessarily is the time for you to cope, because it may not be instantly for you. You may be fine in the process, then after the process, because I always feel like funeral days are day one for me all over again. And people always think that's the last day and now you're going to be fine. Like, no, the process is all over again. Because in them little 7 or 14, depending on what happened days, I got myself together. And then I came back here and now I'm like, what just happened? Like, I was doing great. And now we're back at 0. So I would just say, just figure it out. That's it.
Go ahead, and then we have a question to answer. So y'all two go ahead, and then we have
okay. Oh, Candace already went. It's just me.
Yeah,
Oh, you didn't go? It was just Monique. So sorry. I would say, well, for one, I agree with Monique on 2 things. I agree with Monique on, wow, I don't remember the first thing, but the second thing I agree with Monique on. I agree with her about the whole funerals being it started all over again, but more so in a sense where funerals are where it starts for me. My grieving process doesn't start before the funeral, because before the funeral, I have to make sure that everybody's okay leading up to the funeral. And I don't know why, for some reason, I feel like after that, everybody should be okay. But that's when it starts for me, because in my mind finally registers this is the last time I'm gonna see you. And it just hits really hard for me. But I think that in dealing with, I know what I was agreeing with you the first time. On dealing with, when Monique said something about dealing, every death might be a different, you might have a different coping support. That's very true, because Aunt Deneen, I call her Aunt Deneen, when she died, I was in the 8th grade, and I kind of had a feeling when I saw her for the last time. But when she died, it was really bad for me, because my coping mechanism then was, I'm an actress, so let me go and memorize these lines for this class. Let me go do this. But she started me on acting. She's the person who, when I was first doing the acting ministry at church, she was up there. She was telling me what to do. She was showing me how it was. She's one of the first people I saw do a play. She's one of the first people I saw and was like, I want to do that. So I can't do this right now, actually. Can we not do my scene today? In class? I know we're doing this musical, but can I just do my song tomorrow? It was stuff like that where it was okay, I actually can't handle the stuff that will help me now. And I'm a poet, as a lot of people know. So when my uncle died and when my grandfather died, you would expect me to just, well, when my uncle died, I did write a poem, right there at his wake, because what else am I supposed to do? With all of this pent up energy, with all of this, me just sitting in here, everybody, what else am I supposed to do but write? And so that was hard. But when my grandfather died, I couldn't write anything at all, because it was just kind of there are no words, there's nothing. So it was more so every time trying to figure out what's going to help me now. Also, I would say, y'all, don't be like me, because when people die, or when something traumatic happens, or when something like that happens, well, okay, maybe you can be like me a little bit, but I try to make sure that everybody around me is good. Yeah. So when I get information firsthand, I don't respond. I don't cry or anything. When my grandfather died, me and Candace were in my parents' room, because we stay in y'all room when y'all not home. And my father called us and told us, and I said, is this a joke? Are you kidding? And he said, no, actually, I'm very serious. And I had to deal with Candace crying. I couldn't. So, immediately.
It was my portion. It was.
So as soon as we got off the phone, I can't process my emotions to actually act like it didn't happen, because now you have to make sure that she's okay and make sure that the kids
downstairs. Jasmine is older than Candace.
In case you didn't know.
People thinking that she's older.
And I'm older than both of them, in case y'all didn't.
Remember somebody asked?
So, throw it out there sometimes. So yes, I am older than Candace, actually, but I had to make sure Candace was okay, and then I had to leave Candace and make sure that the kids didn't hear her weeping in the greatness downstairs, and I had to come back upstairs. And after I dealt with Candace, I ran upstairs, I called my best friend, I cried for 30 seconds and said, okay, I gotta get myself together, can't nobody see me crying, and hung up on her. She don't know what's going on. I'm crying. She would call me back later, like, what happened? Is everybody okay? Like, so I definitely dealt with everybody before I dealt with myself. And then when it was time to deal with myself, I was not as caring, or this is where you don't be like me. I was not as caring, or I wasn't as like patient with myself as everybody else. But that goes for a lot of things. I think it depends on everybody's personality. But me personally, when I feel like something should be over, I then judge myself harshly for it not being over. So since I was grieving, and I'm like, the funeral was 2 months ago. What do you mean you miss him right now? You had time to miss him. Like, why are you get it together? What do you mean you didn't get to watch this show with him? Like, for a long time, and there are things that you have to be aware of your triggers, is what I would say. Because when me and my grandfather watched Law and Order faithfully. Every single time I went to my grandparents' house, we were watching Law and Order. So I didn't watch Law and Order for like 6-7 months, and I didn't even realize I wasn't watching it till I came home from school one day and Law and Order was on TV, and I went to my room and broke down in tears and didn't even know why I was crying till I had to recount my day and be like, well, I was fine here, and be like, oh, I haven't even seen. So like, it would just, be aware of your triggers, be aware of the things that, can make you, and then try to work on it, because, Law and Order don't trigger me now. Watch the whole season, binge watch the other day. So be aware so that you can possibly build and, try to overcome the emotions. But like, I will also say that me personally, you're never going to stop missing somebody. Like, they were in your life and the next day they weren't. You're never going to just completely like, oh, who are they? No, that's not going to happen. I remember Miss Rose, who was Dean's mother. Like, I remember her, and I remember I was bawling. I bawled my eyes out at her funeral, and every night
was bawling
like, it was bad. And I was
like, take me outside, get me some water.
We couldn't breathe. Like, we're too young to be going through all of this trauma. It was just really bad for that specific one. But every now and then I think back to that. I think back to Pastor Eddie. I think back to all of these things, and I'm like, they used to joke about him and my grandmother on my father's side getting together. Like, I think back to stuff like this. But I think of stuff like that. I associate people with, like, good memories, so that way I'm not over here a wreck. Because every now and then, like, especially when Graham died, I was a mess. Like, I was at school and somebody said something.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we all a mess, but when you walk into the house, you couldn't be like,
right, I couldn't be a mess when I got home.
Stay in the car, because we know, like, even y'all shocked me with so many videos and so many things, so stuff. Like, of course, he was definitely a part of us, but I just didn't know that even while you're in school, he's still communicating with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, just so much stuff. But you couldn't walk in there and be like, and then DeLon like,
what's going on? Right. So I can gather myself really quickly, but it would be something as small as, I'm at school, we in the middle of a rehearsal, I'm not even supposed to be on my phone. This is what I get. And I'm on my phone, and one of my sisters sent a picture of all of us together. Now I'm in the hallway a mess, because why would you do that? Like, I'm in school till 10:30 at night. I know everybody else out, but I'm not. Like, so then I'm sitting at school trying to collect myself and go back in. So it's stuff like that. So I would say be aware of your triggers. You can care for everybody else, but make sure you're just as, graceful and just as patient with yourself. And like Monique said, every death or every, experience that you have that's negative you might not have the same coping mechanism. So just be okay with, trying new things to, break trial and error.
Oh, now you got something.
I always say something. Don't do too much. Like they said, know your triggers and know how to cope. But I think that it was different for me, and it is different for me because I can't pull myself together easily at all. So
ever.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where we meet. You see what I'm saying? But if you're gonna tell me something, just tell me and give me a couple minutes, and then let me come back to you once I have gotten myself together and I've recollected myself. Because I know, like, once my father called us and told us, I was like, Jasmine, I'm sorry. We told the kids I was on the school call. It was August, summertime. We didn't, but like I couldn't come, like I couldn't get myself together. I wasn't working. Like it didn't happen.
Why are you crying like this? You found out you failed?
I mean, like it was so bad.
It was so like, no, like I had to put her in the bathroom and then walk out and be like, she gotta take this class again. We just gonna come back out.
Yeah, like I was on a Zoom call because and I had to recruit myself. And then because they didn't know, I went to church that day. And when I came home from church, I also had to prepare myself that they just found out.
Yeah.
Now we got to go through this again. Like, I'm just finding out again. But also being in church, it was just like everything was set up weird that day. And I don't know if people were always affectionate like that, but everybody wanted a hug. And I'm like, whoa. And Chantal was like, just hug and go. Just hug and go. And I'm like, me and Chantal holding each other during the service. They singing praise and worship. We falling apart. I'm like, they think me in the spirit. We really not. Like, it was just like, but we had to just like prepare yourself again. And then once Chanel found out, she was texting me like, what time you coming home? You okay? But I think that's because she didn't think that I knew.
She was tore up. She took me out. She took me out. Like, I don't know why I had to be my grandfather. No.
And we had to tell them in stages.
Yeah.
So, Jasmine and Candace found out together. MJ and Chanel found out together. But like Jasmine and Candace.
Chantal was there.
Right.
So.
Jasmine and Candace, I was able to tell them over the phone. Chanel and MJ, I couldn't tell them over the phone. So they had to wait until later that night when she came home so that she could tell them because they had each other. Well, Candace had Jasmine. And they could get through that moment. But MJ and Chanel, they needed one of us there. I'm still out of town. So she had to be the one to, break that to them or whatever that night. So that was, kind of how it went in stages. And that's why it kind of went that way. The thing that I always remind people is there's a difference between grieving and mourning. And so from the clinical side of it, we don't understand that. We've grouped them together. And so, the mourning happens the moment that you find out that they died. The grieving happens once you accept that it actually, they're no longer going to be here ever. So, mourning is more on the shock side. So you find out and you're shocked, and then in your shock, you're just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. And you literally can't believe it. So you mourn over the fact that you can't believe that this happened. You start grieving when you learn to believe and accept that this is now the new normal, that I am now going to live the rest of my life without them. And now I have to learn how to live life without them. You're not considering that. And so during the mourning time, you have people calling and coming over, and you're overwhelmed with people, and they're keeping you occupied and doing all of that. All of that happens up until the funeral. The day of the funeral, the visits stop, the calls stop, and then you're left to be alone with your thoughts. And the process begins, for some at that stage of accepting that this is now my new reality. For some, it doesn't start until later down the line. But that mourning, people think they're grieving. And so they think that once they see you start doing better during that week, then they feel like, oh, okay, they got it. And then it's like the funeral is supposed to be closure. But so then they feel like, okay, we made it through. So I was there for you. I got you, through the week. I got you through the funeral. So now I'm going to let you get some rest, because that's what they tell you. You need to get some rest, and you need to take a day off. You need to do something for yourself. You need to, because that's just naturally, it's in our minds, that's what we taught. It's kind of like, church people think that a mint in water is going to heal you. So if something wrong, you get the cough and choking.
And a fan.
Right. A fan, a mint, and some water is the remedy to everything.
And them standing right there.
Right. And so, that's what people think. So when they leave you alone, and then you now, because see, during that first week, you know, if it's somebody that you didn't live with, you're not going over the house and going through their stuff. You're not, you know, doing all of that. That's when that grieving starts, because you start to realize, like, I'm in their house cleaning out their stuff because they're never going to be here. You know, the grieving starts because you then have to start dealing with the business. Like, okay, what are we going to do with this car? What are we going to do with this house? What are we going to do, you know, with these clothes and this jewelry and all of these outstanding bills that they had? They had this and they had that. Like, are these people supposed to come back and get this stuff and all of those kinds of things? Like, that process, it becomes overwhelming, and that helps you to realize that you have to accept that they're never coming back. And then that's when the grieving starts. And that's how people get into depression, because they think that they already did all of the things. You know, they already felt like they made it through everything, and then they're by themselves when they start grieving and not knowing what to do. And as a culture, we don't like to reach out for help, especially professional help. So then you end up depressed, and you end up being isolated, and now you're in the bed and nobody's talked to you for 2 and 3 days or a week. And, you know, now you're not coming out and you don't feel like yourself and all of those kinds of things. All of that stuff happens, and that's because you finally started grieving. And there's no timeline to how long you grieve, and there's no timeline to when you start. But it's the process of you accepting that this is my new reality. And whenever that is for you, that's when you, because see, sometimes we say you got to get over it, and it's not an over, it's a through. In some instances, the finish line of your through is different, because the pace that you're walking through it is different. You know, the consistency of your activities is different. So all of those kinds of things, you know, kind of play a role in a part in how you're able to handle and manage the grieving process. And this is the thing. Nobody has ever taught people how to grieve. They just teach you, and they're with you during the mourning process. So once you hit grieving, which is many times worse than mourning, and you don't know what to do, and you don't know how to feel, and you don't know what remedies and things to do, that's how it becomes overwhelming. And that's how people end up having breakdowns, and people end up having depression, and they end up with anxiety, and they end up with all kinds of things. People have gotten PTSD as a result of a death, but the PTSD didn't happen until months later, when they finally accepted and realized that this is what happened. So then, like we said, you got to know your triggers. You got to know the things that, you know, that kind of come in and coincide with all this going on. So it's a process that you really need help with. You know, death, we do it lightly because we've seen it so many times and we've been through it so many times. But when it's someone that's close, you really need help getting through it.
Yeah, that's the truth. What do you guys suggest doing as a family to manage the daily flow and stress of being a caregiver when it becomes overwhelming on the household? Would one of y'all like to answer that?
I think that one, just have, well, that was profound. I was gonna say just have family time, but I think as simple as, like, in the house, especially if there's someone in the house that you're caring for, making it a group effort in a sense, but not necessarily in the process of caring for them, but just everybody be in the room. We gonna all watch a movie, or, you know, things just as like, oh, we're gonna have like family dinner tonight, like, but like not just like, oh, we cook a regular dinner, but cook it like it's Thanksgiving, or cook it like, you know, let everybody have a place in the room, things like that. I feel like, because sometimes if you're being a caregiver to a family member, you may not be able to all take a break to bond outside of the house or outside of that time. So just try to figure it out within the house, like game nights, like, oh, we're gonna all sit here and play games. But even if the person that you're giving care to can't necessarily partake, they can be still in the environment, still hear the conversation, still be a part of the conversation, still can share a laugh, you know, still can watch, even if they can't necessarily participate. So things like that to bring everybody together, to give everybody a stress reliever, a little bit of fun, and, you know, yeah. Then it's like, if something does need to be done, everybody's right there. So like anybody can get up and do it. It's not like, oh yeah, this is your shift or this is your time and you have to do it. Like,
Mm-hmm. Y'all gotta answer no.
Like it was mentioned earlier about if you can trust somebody to take care of your family member for even a short period of time, and your family can get out the house, get out the house. Just leave the environment for a little bit. Sometimes you just need to, detach yourself from the situation and then just come back after a while. But go make memories. Like go to the park, swing on a swing, walk around, get some ice cream, just watch a movie if you can. Like do something that for a second, like you don't have to think. Do something that doesn't involve thought. Do something that doesn't involve, too much effort and only involves fun. To you, to your family, it can be anything. Like if your family likes reading, go read a book. Like do something like that. And then when you come back, when you come back, I do agree that if you can't leave, like make something happen in your home. Make your home not your home. Make it, do arts and crafts. There are a lot of things I learned, especially during quarantine. You can make a space become anything you want it to be. When I realized I wasn't going to be leaving my room for a long period of time in quarantine, I bought some LED lights so that I can just be in a different environment every night. And it worked. It was great. So I think that if you can, maybe buy a little something, do some arts and crafts, like rearrange stuff, get yourself a new environment in your environment, then, that should help maybe liven up.
Okay. Candace, you have something?
I would say, like, take turns to ease, like, the stress of the one person, but also, wow. I mean, it left me.
When it comes back to you, let us know. So, just like I think earlier I said that you can, every caregiver should take time out for themselves. So, even if you can't go as a family, let everybody still have their outlet. So if your outlet is skating, still have your outlet. If your outlet is bowling, still have your outlet. That's it. That's
what was it? Say it again.
I was going to say, whatever your outlet was before the family member became ill, or whatever it is that you love, like my parents took care of just to do what we love when something happens. So like, whatever it is, like singing, dancing, I don't know what people do, walking, running, jogging, jump roping, whatever it is, to take time to do that. Tell your child, stay in here just for a little bit so I can go clear your mind, say a prayer, read your Bible.
Yeah, and even for the child, they might need to go out and be with their friends or whatever and then come back just to have time. And if you're the only caregiver, some people are the only caregiver, when you get the person, whoever you're caring for, when they're at a relaxed, calm state, you can go sit on the porch, and just get fresh air every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't confine yourself just like they're confined. Like, try to do the best you can at, getting sun on you, getting fresh air, standing on the porch for 5 minutes. If you could just stand on the porch, and just 5 minutes, tell them, listen, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. You might not go in the bathroom. You're going outside and just stand on the porch, because it gets a little overwhelming and you never want the person that you're caring for to feel bad, But also, if it gets too bad, I feel like you need to have a meeting and make sure that everybody, that the role that they took on, that they can still do that. Are you still good with going to the doctors? My dad was heavy, so it was like going to the doctors, and he don't want to catch. See, like I told you, he still had his nine, so he don't want to get on mobility. Okay, he want us to put him on a wheelchair, put him up, stand him up, put him in the car, get to the doctors, take him back out the car, go in the doctors, come back out, put him back in the car, get home. Sometimes you get home, you just want to be like, Dad, sit there for a minute. We back to get you in an hour. Some of your friends will come up and down the street because you're tired by this time. And then, my mom is really coaching. You got to coach her to go in the house. Don't coach us. We know what to do, right? And so it's like you have to get that, have a meeting so you can get that, like, can you still do this? Can you still handle this role that you have. And if you can't handle that role anymore, then we need to figure out what we are going to do in order to fill your role, and what role can you handle, because we still need you. Okay, we need every player on the team. So what can you handle right now? Or is it just that you need a little break? Like, you know, for a little while, you know, Monica had to do dishes because we knew she was trying to get out of school. And everybody in here wanted her to graduate, right? So you can't handle doing this kitchen because you ain't doing it too well. So what we're going to do is we're gonna let them do this, and you're going to get another role. But you do have to come back to the kitchen role, right? I mean, how long you graduated? But anyway, so, you know, just like that, like you may have to fill it temporarily, you know, and I know, like I said, everybody doesn't have as many people as us, but whoever you have to figure it out, and you may have to pay for someone. Y'all, it's high, but sometimes if you look for things, there are ways that you can get care that won't cost you so much. There are people out here that have knowledge, that are techs, CNAs, even nurses that would like to do some work, come over your house, sit, and they will do a great job. You know, you just have to be able to put it out there and say, hey, my family need help, or, you know, does anybody know? And sometimes I know I've, you know, sent messages to friends or to people like, do you know anybody? People have sent messages to me, Cherie, do you know anybody who can sit with my father, my mother, my son, you know, anything like that. And so you just have to do that. But ultimately, don't stay worn out, and don't not talk. If you know you're worn out in the family, speak. Say, listen, this is getting overwhelming for me. And you're not going to speak to the person that you're caring for, but the people that are helping you. You say this is getting overwhelming. If you're caring for them by yourself, when you go to the doctor, you tell the doctor, that this is getting overwhelming for me. Do you have any suggestions, any outlets, anything? Y'all, there are several groups. There are groups, you know, use social media to your advantage. There are groups for everything, pretty much. You know, people go to groups for, if you have someone in your life that has dementia, you can go there. If you have someone that's dealing with kidney issue or get whatever, you can go there. So please use that to your advantage, or ask the doctor. If you should have a really good doctor, ask him. If you can't ask, or him or her, if you can't ask the doctor in front of your family member, write a letter, write a note, give it to the front desk, and the front desk will get it to the doctor, so the doctor can communicate with you without the family member knowing. So you can have them call you, text you, write you a note back, and you get it back when you're leaving out the, you know. So there's ways to do it. Trust me, I have done a lot of things. So I hope that we answered your question. I appreciate the transparency and sharing. We appreciate y'all for listening. We're so grateful if we can help anybody, you know. Yes, PTSD is real. And especially with our kids, or with ourselves, but with your kids too, you have to notice it. You have to be able to recognize it. I'm sorry, Marcus, did you have anything to say about the
No, y'all
okay.
everything.
So, like, you have to be able to recognize that your child is going through. And y'all, I have a patient who lost her son on Mother's Day. Yeah, she can't. So you're right. That death day, she can't forget. So her family has to help her cope right now. Fill her time, not just sitting there thinking, oh, at 12:22, I received a call saying that my son passed away. No, like, you got to fill the time. And that was my advice to her. Like, you have to fill the time. Yeah, you can get therapy, but you still have to fill the time, because every year for the rest of your life, I don't want you to have a miserable Mother's Day.
Right. And
I never lost a child, but what I'm saying is, I just want to help her keep moving forward and not go back into being, in the fetal position. You got to keep moving forward, because you have other children, you have other family members that are counting on you, depending on you to get through. Like you said, not get over it, but get through it. And that means getting through things, y'all, means that there will be good days, there will be bad days, but you will be able to conquer all of them. Right. And we don't, y'all heard it from them. I told y'all, we don't make them, read your Bible. You gonna pray, because that has to be their lifestyle. They have to grab God for themselves. After a certain age, you got to grab God for yourself, and you have to know how God works in your life, and how you can communicate with God for yourself. And that's what I was gonna say earlier, that we tell them to do what they love when things happen, and don't think that he's too macho man, because we done check on him too, and we know when he grieving and going through and all of that, you know what I'm saying? He can tell a joke to get out of it, but it's still real. It's still real for him, even though he's helping us. But there's a lot of deaths that have happened in his life that are very real, for him, and he can't get through. So even the strong one, you need to check on him every now and then, and Marcus works part-time for funeral home. So, I'm like, are you okay? Because if all you see in all these deaths, like dealing with families, dealing with people, you know what I'm saying? And then, yes, we talked about social media, but what about when you just dare to do something and find out, oh, this is somebody I know.
Right.
And I didn't know that this, so I had to do a check-in. It's so crazy that their friends and boyfriends, like, is he okay? Because he do a funeral 1 and 2, like every day. So, don't take for granted that the person is very strong. And yes, I think that was a question too. Do people think that we're always the strong ones to lean on? That's always going to happen. That's always going to happen when you seem that you can handle it. When you seem like you can handle it and you're going through life, yeah, people are going to lean on you because they want to know how you getting through. Mm-hmm. They feel like, well, if Cherie can laugh and tell us, like, me and Monique have a friend have a thing. Like, I'd be like, my father died. She'd be like, yeah, mine did too. I'd be like, it's crazy, ain't it? But that's how me and her get through it. And we have a laugh. And yeah, she's much younger than me, but that pain is about the same. Like, at her age, at my age, we don't know how to do this. We trying. And I think that it helps her to know that even though Aunt Cherie or Aunt Sharika, like, is her age, she's still dealing with this stuff just like I am, So you gotta know that when you seem to be the strong one or the one that moves forward, people are going to say, like, oh yeah, but don't forget, even though you think somebody is strong, I think my mother is like strong, but every now and then you gotta check in, like, you okay? Is everything okay? You good? All right, and then she can be like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I miss him. Because that's the truth. That's the real deal, And so then you just, okay, they know you care now. You're not just going through the motions like, all right, okay, I don't want to hear it because I don't want to cry or whatever. Crying is a release. And that's why I want my kids to cry. That's why I don't want, like, Monique to walk around and be like, oh man, like, when her eyes get watery, just let her go. No, I used to try to talk through it, but now, like, you just gotta let her go because you gotta get that cry out. You used to get that lump in your throat when you didn't cry. You gotta get that cry out because that's gonna release and refresh her. And so if Denise was here, God knows she'd probably be like, crying is the, we don't know. She probably has so many definition of why you gotta cry. So, but you gotta release it some kind of way. And if your children have lost somebody close to them, maybe a parent, maybe a grandparent, and they are doing things like, you notice they're staying a certain place. Even them, I noticed, like, it was hard for them to go there. And I just asked my mother, can you please just give them, just know that they love you. But it's just hard. Like, they gotta get it. They gotta just be able, now we can just walk in there and you just do it. But it was hard at first for everybody. So, you got to know if your child is just busting out crying or just, doing crazy stuff. They was good in school and now they're not. Like, you need to talk to your child, not scold them. Find out what's going on. Think about it. My patient was telling me different things about how she felt. And I was like, it's coming up on, the anniversary of your death, of your child's death. She like, I never thought about that. So the fact that she never thought about it, and now she's like, oh, maybe that's why I feel this way. So that's why you got to talk. And I just be like, girl, get off the bed and do this. And no, you're going to have friends over time that's going to need you to discern. Going to need you to be that friend or that family member that's like, wait a minute, No, this is what's going on. Okay, I'm gonna help you. We're gonna have an intervention or whatever. You know, they're gonna need you to say, you say you're gonna pray for them. No, they're gonna need you to drop and pray right now. You know, they need you right on this phone right now praying. They don't need you saying, girl, I'm gonna pray for you. All right, I'll call you back. Talk to you tomorrow. No, they need to hear them words right now, because sometimes even the strong people can't pray themselves through sometimes. So you need to know where your place is, even in your family, even in your household. Go ahead, Monique.
Yes, I was gonna comment on the stronger one because I think that was while I was talking about how I don't cope and stuff. And so I was gonna say that I don't think necessarily my family thinks I'm the stronger one.
Mhm.
Oh, yes. I'm three different places. Right. Jasmine was saying earlier about she helps everybody, and I feel like I think that subconsciously we all do that. And so
Yeah.
that's why it works here for us, where it may not work for other people, because we all think about helping the next person and then getting back to ourselves. But even though we feel like we get to ourselves last, somebody else is getting to us in the process of us getting to somebody else. But I was gonna say, so I don't feel like, oh, they think I'm the strong one, because when you just know somebody, you just know, like, they just not gonna talk about it, but like watch or whatever. But I feel like when you are like that, like how I am, I had to learn that because I am like this, people are gonna think that I'm okay. So I have to be prepared for my friends to resume life as normal and try to include me in it, or try to, okay, it's back to normal with us, where if they get my help for something or whatever, then it's like, okay, unless I say I'm really not okay and I can't do this, that they're gonna continue to pile things on or want to do this because life is moving on as normal because I look the part. So unless I actually say it, until they know me well enough, you know, then it's like, okay, until I'm just not in the motion, and then they like, what's happening? And I'm like, it was never happening. You was happening. I wasn't never there. Like, you know? So it's just kind of like that. And I would say we were also knowing about we're also talking about knowing your trigger. Wow, yeah, I'm done. I would say you have to also know what keeps you afloat as well.
Yeah.
Because like I had an instance where it was vice versa. Like I was keeping somebody afloat, but I didn't know. And so once I stopped doing what I was doing, then they like, what's happening? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Like, so you have to know like what keeps you afloat so that you can speak on it, so that people don't just be like, okay, like something they were doing that they didn't realize. And then it's like, you were dependent on that, and then you're upset about it, and they don't even know what's happening. Like, yeah. So
that's what I was going to say about Candace, that she takes things hard, but she is what? I cut you off? Oh, she takes things hard, but she is good for a friend. She is good for somebody to be there for them. She might have to take 2 breaths, but she gonna get you through. Her friends gonna call her, she gonna get them through. If it's her, it might be a little bit different, but she gonna be like, Lord Jesus, you know, she going through this, he going through that, but she gonna get them through. But when things happen to her, it's harder. So we're about to wrap this up. This was a good topic. And I feel like this needs to be like a part 2 topic, you know. But because Monique didn't cry yet. But do y'all have anything final you want to say in the short minute? No? All right. You don't have anything?
We need him a thing, so let him go first and then we'll come back.
You know he want to be last.
I was like,
well, you say something.
Okay, so what I was saying,
a minute
is, you know, I think I already said it though. Like, you know, pray, take the time, know your role, work as a family, have teamwork. You know, everybody play their part. Everybody can't fix the food, because we need other things to be done than just fixing the food. You know, don't disregard a family member who can only do certain things. Just work that thing that they can do. Okay. And if you don't know what to offer, then ask. Like, okay, what is it y'all need me to do? If you're not a household member or something like that, but you're still a family member or a close friend and you're gonna help, okay, what is it that you need me to do? You know, and then do that and do it good, right? Be present, be available for people. And if you can't do it, then be honest with saying, I can't do it. You know, sometimes my friends know now. I would be the first person to come to be like, oh, it's a funeral. Let me go. I'm out to help you. Now I gotta think. I gotta think about it. Like, can I do it? Can I do it? Like, I will do my best to be there for you now. But when it comes to closing that casket, I gotta do something different. And my friends know that. My family knows that now. Like, so it's like I gotta try to do something different when they close the casket. I think I worked a funeral and I had to turn around, like, so they can close this casket. I'm gonna have to turn around this way because it's just final. But I didn't feel like that until it was close to me. So just know where your loved ones are. Like I said, all the other things I just said before, because I'm gonna repeat them again. And be the discerning family member. And when I say discern, like, know what's needed so you can meet the need. Because like he said, during the grieving process, during the mourning process, we're doing a lot of things. But after that, when they're in the grieving process, they might just need a text message. Now, don't text them like, I know you're so sad today. Don't be sad. Cherie, it's Father's Day. You missed your father. No, because I might not be sad, but just send me a little message when it's not Father's Day. You know, we don't know how to do that, y'all. And somebody got to teach us. Somebody got to teach us that 30 days, put it in your calendar. I'm going to text them in 2 weeks. 2 weeks after the funeral, put it in your calendar. Text Cherie, whatever. Text so-and-so, you know, whatever. So it's just like, so you'll know, like, let me text them and just let them know I'm thinking of them or whatever, or you need anything going on. I'm not foolproof in it. I fall short of that too, but I do my best to try to communicate after, because people just feel lonely. You know, when the food is gone, all of that, they feel lonely. Some people still need, my mother had some good neighbors because they still see about her. They still see what she needs. And so, y'all, that's what I would say. Meet needs, even in your own family, please, because it is what is needed. And don't be afraid to talk. We came here, this is a family edition, and we came here to let you all know, to spark this conversation, to be able to, you know, sit down and say, what would you do? What would, even down to your youngest child, because they have answers. They have things they want to say. If we had our youngest two here, I know they would have a lot to say about this topic. It just might be too emotional. So for all of us, so we just let them come when they get a little older. So, but just, you know, make sure that these are things that we spark the conversation, that, you know, even after we're done, if you think about or if you're watching a replay and you think about a question or a comment that you have, please type it. Please send us a message. We will, you know, get back to you. And if you have topics that you want us to talk about as a family or as Couples Corner Team Bevins, you let us know, please, and we will pray about it and do our best to talk about the topics at hand, because we cannot continue to just say pray and not show you the reality of how we're getting through, or when we pray, or when we say, wait a minute, God, no, I ain't even praying today. Like, that's reality. And I want y'all to know that this is the reality of the Bevins family and how we get through things. Mm-hmm. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I would say know who's reliable for you, so that when you are going through something, you can know the people that, because a lot of people are going to come. Like, that's a time where a lot of people show up, but you got to know who's reliable, where if you really need something, you can, you know, reach out to them, or you can just know that when they come, they're genuine, and also just be genuine. Like, if you're going through it, be genuine about your process, like, be authentic with it, let it take its course. And also, if you're somebody reaching out, be genuine and authentic in wanting to help. Like, send a text message or call them and leave a voicemail, not expecting them to return it. You know, like, do it knowing that they may need it, but not expecting them to be like, oh, thank you so much. Like, not the phrase out of it to say you were there, but to know that I sent the message and maybe it just made them smile or gave them some hope today, even if they are not in a place where they can get back to me at the moment, or even if they never get back to me. Like, do it out of a genuine place that can help somebody or uplift somebody or keep them pushing on their journey.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say to not be afraid to talk. If it's you in the situation of grieving or mourning, even after the time is done, like even if it's not to friends, but it's family, even if it's not to family but friends, don't be afraid to say that you're still processing, or don't try to, like Monique said, rush your process just because you see that other people are moving forward, and like just because other people are able to post pictures or look at the pictures without crying, you might need a couple more weeks, and that's okay. And yeah, I think that was all, but drew another blank, so nothing.
You good?
Blessed.
Pretty blessed.
I would say this, that you need to accept that you're never ready for death. It doesn't matter if you are watching them decay, if you're watching them decline. The emotional attachment that you have with a person, you're never ready to depart from them. So, and that's okay, and no separation happens easily. There's always, you feel some type of uneven exchange in a separation, in a loss. So, you'll feel like there's some things that you still could have done, or some time that you could have had, or things that you could have said, or what have you. All of that is natural, and never feel bad about being human. What you can do, what I would offer you, is that you would lean on God, because God is the one that will supply your strength that you need to get through moments, especially those grieving moments when you are by yourself. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help, because help is available. You just have to let someone know that you need it. People are not impeding into your space and in your mind and your thoughts. They are waiting to be invited. So when you let someone know that you have a need, then they can meet the need. But when you keep it bottled up, no one knows that it's a need, and no one supplies it. So I just wanted to, remind you guys of that. The Bible tells us that when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to a rock that's higher than I. And God is always available, and you can always go to him. And when you don't understand what to say, and sometimes your prayer just might be a cry, but he keeps your tears, and your tears speak when your words can't. So understand that God is always there, and he's never going to leave you or forsake you, because he promised that he wouldn't. And so that's what we just wanted to share with you guys tonight. We pray that something that we said was something that you can use for those of you who have been through it, or for those of you who are going through it now. And some of you can store it for, future times when you will have to experience any of those areas of caring for an ill family member or dealing with death. But just understand that you can make it. And God said that he wouldn't put more on us than we can do. So you'll always have what you need, even if you don't feel like it's what you want. So we're Team Bevins, and this is the family edition of the Couples Corner tonight. We thank you all for your time and for hanging in there with us. I know we were a little long tonight, but we had to, deal with some of the things, the ins and outs of this. So we appreciate you all, and you all have a good night, and we will see you guys next time in the Couples Corner. God bless.
Mom.